My last day in Syria and an important message from the commander of all of the Syrian Defense Forces, and more coming up on today's Hot Zone.
This is the Hot Zone. Engaging with the news in a whole new way, international war correspondent Chuck Holton brings insight into areas of crisis and lets you help those affected.
Hi folks, Chuck Holton here. It's Monday, and I hope you had a good weekend. I know I did. I want to just finish up my trip to Syria with you today. And, there was a lot, as if you've been watching the podcast over the last couple of weeks, it's been just a really intense trip. It's really been something. There's been a lot of other things happening in the world that I want to get to, but I want to finish up Syria and show you what happened the last day I was there. And I also have just a really interesting and very illuminating interview with Masloum Abdi. He's the commander of all of the Syrian Defense Forces, the Kurdish forces in Syria. And he's got a very interesting take on President Trump and the decision to pull out American troops and why they're still there, even though they were supposed to be pulled out. And it's something that you're not going to see the entirety of on mainstream media. And so this is what this podcast is all about, where I can show you in their entirety interviews and information that you're just not going to get anywhere else. It's going to make you better informed than your friends, better informed about the important things that are happening in the world. We're not going to talk about celebrity gossip and all that garbage. We're not going to talk about politics and investigations and all that stuff that you're so tired of hearing about on the mainstream news. We're going to talk about things that matter, people that are hurting around the world, and what we can do to help those people. Free Burma Rangers have been helping those people in Syria for several weeks now. And here's an important just update from Dave Eubank about what's been going on.
This is 8 November 2019, and we're at a mobile casualty collection point. We had to hide our vehicles because of Turkish drone strikes. Zhao Sang was killed about 500 meters from here by what we're pretty sure is a drone. Right after that, 3 girls working with the SDF were also killed. In the last 3 days, 26 people have been killed by drone strikes in this area alone. And so we asked for a stop to the Turkish drones. 5 ambulances have been taken out earlier. And so this has got to stop. It's evil. Dave Eubank, Free Burma Rangers, north of Tel Tamer.
Okay, now I want to show you this message from Masloum Abdi. I'm going to play it in its entirety and put some B-roll over it. It's a fascinating look into the Kurdish perspective about President Trump and the Americans and what they're doing in Syria.
We have always said that we have conditions to do a deal with the Syrian government. First, this administration, the Autonomous Administration of North and East Syria, must be accepted as a part of the General Administration of Syria under the Constitution. Second, the Syrian Democratic Forces should have a special place in the framework of the General Defense System of Syria. We do not oppose being incorporated into the General Defense System of Syria, but with a special place. Definitely, the Kurdish issue is an essential one, and the rights of the Kurdish people must be guaranteed in the Syrian constitution. The Turkish state did not respect the ceasefire for even an hour. It continues its attack. Their attacks continued even yesterday evening and this morning. There is shelling and their warplanes conduct airstrikes. They bombard our forces and those Syrian troops who are positioned between us and the Turks. They attacked, captured and killed Syrian government troops. The Turkish state continues its attacks and publicly says so. They say, we have progressed, taking this number of villages and areas. Therefore, the U.S. does not have accurate information. We have a joint operations cell with the Americans. They know well that what I am saying is true. In their reports to their government, they state that the Turkish state does not respect the ceasefire and continues its attacks, killing civilians and conducting attacks as well as targeting everyone. This is a real thing and it continues. We officially requested from the U.S. as the guarantor of their ceasefire deal with the Turks to implement the economic sanctions on Turkey even if they cannot stop them. The U.S. has forcibly to stop the Turks now. President Trump was determined to withdraw their forces, and they have already begun the withdrawal in Kobani, Manbij, Raqqa, and some parts of Takba. But later, there was great pressure on the Trump administration, including Congress. All of our friends, Americans, soldiers, and politicians opposed the Trump administration's decision. President Trump's credibility was at risk. Our friends from the coalition, France, Germany, UK, and many others also opposed it. More importantly, our forces opposed it. They did not hand over the region to the Turks as they wished. It was clear that a great conflict could take place, and America would be held responsible. There was the danger of the annihilation of the Turkish people, not just demographic change. There could be ethnic cleansing. There was a great threat. These reasons greatly increased the pressure of U.S. public opinion and politicians on President Trump to reconsider his decision. Therefore, the U.S. took a step back in its decision. They now had another objective: to keep their troops in the east of Syria. The main reason behind the U.S. presence is definitely not oil. Everyone knows that the U.S. does not need the oil. They withdrew from some areas such as Manbij, Tabqa, and the areas in the west of our region. They have a force remaining in Kobani, and that force is not withdrawn. In other areas in eastern Syria, in Deir ez-Zor, up to Malka, the border crossing with Iraq's Kurdish region, they remain posted in their previous positions. They will also build new bases in the new locations like Derik, Syria's far northeast, and some other areas. They will also be based there. The positioning of U.S. troops will be reconsidered on their objectives. As I said earlier, their military presence is clear. Their movements will happen in coordination with our forces, not independently. They will continue to pursue some of their previous objectives, such as assisting our forces in the protection of Daesh prisons and camps. They want to continue with some of their assistance programs for the people of the region, also with the training of the Syrian Democratic Forces. Assistance to the Syrian Democratic Forces will continue. The partnership in the fight against Daesh will continue. Concerning the airspace, U.S. forces will again establish air cover over some areas, and also a new objective is protecting the oil wells.
All right, folks, I'm finishing up a piece that will air this week on CBN, and here you get a sneak peek of a little piece of that. I want you to watch that too, and then we'll talk about what happened my last day. Turkey and Russia now patrol northern Syria side by side as Turkish President Erdogan moves ahead to annex much more land bordering his country. Local Syrians showing their displeasure, with some pelting a Turkish patrol with rocks near the town of Derik. One protester was run over by a Turkish vehicle and later died. Turks fired what they claimed to be tear gas to disperse the protests. The questionable chemical, however, sent 10 unconscious people to the hospital, a result rarely caused by tear gas. Doctors at this hospital in Tal Tamr have treated more than 700 casualties so far.
The Kurds in this area have faced so much injustice from this invasion, and we sometimes feel powerless to stop the bloodshed.
So this reconnaissance we're doing of the frontline area here just south of Sarikania shows that this YPG position is surrounded on three sides at the moment by the Free Syrian Army, off to the west, to the north, and to the east. But they're not quite as worried about being attacked from those positions as they are about indirect fire. That's mortars and artillery, because they just had a round land back behind them. They don't know if that's like a reconnaissance by fire or if the enemy's actually bracketing them to try to bomb this target. The other thing we have to worry about is what we can hear overhead right now, and that's the Turkish drones circling, looking for a target. Many of the wounded at this hospital are victims of Turkish drone attacks. Dave Eubank, leader of the Free Burma Rangers aid group, has been working in the area for more than 3 weeks.
We're at a mobile casualty collection point. We had to hide our vehicles because of Turkish drone strikes. In the last 3 days, 26 people have been killed by drone strikes in this area alone.
It's clear these drones are going after more than just military targets. Eubank's own marked ambulance took a hit November 2nd, wounding 2 and killing one of their ethnic Kachin medics, 37-year-old Zhao Sang. He died on his baby daughter's first birthday. But Turkey's president is undeterred, vowing to continue the fight against what he calls terrorists, while local aid groups estimate more than 300,000 have fled the area. Meanwhile, medical people on the ground have labeled these civilian drone strikes as war crimes.
And so we asked for a stop to the Turkish drones. 5 ambulances have been taken out earlier. And so this has got to stop. It's evil.
All we want is to be able to live in peace like any other nation. We just hope President Trump will remember us, and maybe then he can do something to help our situation.
Chuck Holton, CBN News, Taltamyr, Syria. Okay, so my last day in Syria, just if you were listening to the podcast while I was gone, you've already heard some of this, but I actually crossed back into Iraq and drove to a Syrian refugee camp that was set up in Kurdistan to hold 3,000 people, but actually now has well over 10,000 people and another 1,000 people a day coming in. So Operation Blessing was partnering with the Barzani Foundation to try to help feed and clothe all these people, but it's just a drop in the bucket, folks. There's so much need there, and here's a little bit of what that looked like. This refugee camp inside Kurdistan was built to house 3,000 people, and it's already over 8,300. These buses behind me are coming in from the border, bringing almost 1,000 people each day right now. And that means that the stress on this camp is really reaching a boiling point.
Every day we are receiving about 1,000 individuals. The number of people here in Bardarash camp increases dramatically. Right now the number is 1,982 families, which is equal to 8,000, more than 8,000 individuals. As Barzani Child Foundation, we provide hot meals 3 times a day, breakfast, dinner, lunch and dinner. And on arrival, we provide water and other assistance and we are working on the cases as well. Actually, this camp is not stabilized. It is a place that needs help. So I would like to take this opportunity to call for the national committees and other donors if they would like to bring donations. Please, BCF welcomes you to bring your donations so that we can distribute it on these people.
Operation Blessing is partnering with the Barzani Foundation here in Kurdistan to help meet the needs of these thousands of refugees coming in from Syria. And from the looks of things, this is not going to be over anytime soon. Okay, that's all I've got for you today. Thanks for watching the podcast. I'm Chuck Holton. I hope you'll like and share it wherever you can. And don't forget about my new book, Prowess, The Man You Were Meant to Be. That's out this week, and I'm going back on Saturday to the United States, and I'll be able to get my hands on the first hard copies of those books, soft covers. And if you want a signed soft cover, you better order it now. Go to livefire.us and order your copy of Prowess, The Man You Were Meant to Be, and I will sign it and mail it to you when I get back to the States on Saturday. Don't miss it. And make a great stocking stuffer or a Christmas present for the young man on your list, or even the young lady for that matter. So I hope you'll get a copy. Thanks for watching. I'm Chuck Holton.
The Hot Zone is produced by Amy Holton and Livefire Media. Copyright 2019.